The early 2000s were a very special time for the automotive world. Vehicle designers were coming up with all sorts of craziness. Reliability meant nothing, cheap speed was obtainable. It was one of the few periods in automotive history where performance cars were truly different from the next one. In come the 350Z. It was a tuner's dream car. Enthusiasts were, and still are, obsessed with it. Nissan's new VQ35 engine could get the car moving in a hurry, and held up well to modifications. The 350Z was in basically every single car video game. All the cool bad guys in Tokyo Drift had one. It could break traction on a dime, and even in 6th gear on the highway, the car had an insatiable urge to go faster. Not only did the 350Z sell extremely well, Nissan's heavy marketing introduced a whole new younger generation of enthusiasts to the Z-car lineage. As a result, they're still in high demand. This is the Left Pedal, and here's the details on the Nissan 350Z. The 350Z was a little bigger than it looks. The 350Z was 170 inches long and 71.5 inches wide, 52 inches tall, and had a wheelbase of 104.3 inches. It weighed between about 3,200 and 3,600 pounds. For the first time ever, the new generation Z car had actually lost a little weight. The weight was also distributed nearly evenly, with 47% in the rear and 53% up front. The car could handle, and it was sitting on a well-built suspension. It consisted of a lot of lightweight aluminum alloy parts. The front suspension weighed 25% less than the previous 300ZX's suspension had. It had a multi-link setup in the front that essentially gave the Z the ability to optimize its alignment perfectly throughout a turn. It had vented disc brakes all the way around, and the driver was able to have a lot of control and confidence when pushing the car. The car was offered with a 5-speed automatic transmission or a 6-speed manual. The 350Z brought a very unique style to the car scene, and it was pretty aerodynamic as well. The design was full of long, flowing lines, almost as if it were made from liquid. All types of people love this thing. The 350Z was and still is a very good-looking car. Unlike the previous generation, this new Z had an interior that resembled the classics. With triple gauges in the center of the dash and a bright chrome Z on the steering wheel, it nodded to its heritage. The interior was overall pretty plastic and cheap, but it was cool regardless. The first engine option in the 350Z was the VQ35DE. It was a 3.5-liter V6 that pushed out 287 horsepower and 274 pound-feet of torque. It hit 60 in 5.5 seconds and passed through the quarter mile in 14 seconds. The engine was a good performer, but it had a tendency to burn oil as well as a few other issues. The car was released in multiple packages depending on what you wanted to do with it. Your options were base, enthusiast, performance, touring, grand touring, track, and Nismo. Options, baby! Throughout the 350Z's life, the engine was upgraded a few times. In 2005, Nissan released a new VQ35 rev-up engine, a slightly revised version that pushed the car's redline to 7,000 RPM. And in 2007, Nissan came out with the VQ35HR engine, which had an even higher redline of 7,500 RPM and had a more linear power band. By the final year of production, the 350Z's base engine produced over 300 horses and had a top speed of 155 miles an hour. Of course, if you wanted an even higher performance Z, there was always the Nismo option. This version of the 350Z was only available with a manual transmission and a limited slip differential. It had a tuned suspension, upgraded brakes, and absolutely crazy body panels on the front and rear. It was an impressive sports car and found itself on racetracks all over the world. The 350Z had a pretty big cultural impact for a car. You still see them everywhere, and they're not even that cheap for an aging Japanese sports car. They were undeniably cool. The 350Z is a car that I wanted badly as a kid. It's about as much of a Japanese tuner as you can get, and it arrived at the perfect time to be successful. As always, thank you guys for watching. We're doing a whole series on every generation of the Z car, so make sure to like and subscribe. Next week we're going to hit the 370Z, so I'm Soda Pop, this is the Left Pedal, and I'll see you next time.